TradeSquare is Australia's first business-to-business marketplace connecting people, brands and organisations into this diverse ecosystem in a unique global landscape. Through pivoting, transforming and reshaping, Australian businesses have an opportunity to create the model for the future that aligns with the world's needs and leveraging the power of a collaborative approach. Through the TradeSquare podcast, we will bring together dynamic, diverse and thought-provoking leaders from business, government and organisations to have conversations to further enable new thinking for the future. Welcome to TradeSquare, Australia's leading business-to-business marketplace. I'm Catherine Vandermeulen, and on this series we're connecting to Australian women changing the world with technology. And today we are chatting to Catarina Pinto Moreira, the co-founder of the Explainable Analytics for Machine Intelligence Initiative and senior lecturer at the School of Information Systems at Queensland University of Technology. How are you, Catarina?
Hello, I'm fine. And you?
Great, thank you. So tell us, who is Catarina Pinto Moreira?
Well, Catarina is a computer scientist who is also very passionate about artificial intelligence technologies in decision science. She is very multidisciplinary. She's an artist, so she loves painting, she loves drawing, and above all, when she has a little bit of time, she loves studying Eastern philosophy to try to see how we can map these ancient and classical values to our real world stressful society.
Wow, that is some interesting continuous learning. Tell me more about studying Eastern philosophy.
Well, it all started back in Portugal when I was a student. And, I went to a conference in Switzerland to speak about a work from my PhD. And as an arrogant PhD student, I was like, oh, I know everything about my work. It's going to be all fine. And the interesting thing is when I seated on the table, they didn't ask me things about my work. They wanted to know things about my culture, Portugal, about my history. And I never felt so ignorant in my entire life, to be honest. I had all this knowledge about technical things, artificial intelligence, but I was disconnected with my roots. I didn't know that much of my history to tell people and discuss it at the table. So the next day, when I arrived to Portugal, I joined the philosophy group and I started to learn about the history of Templars. I studied Hinduism, I studied Buddhism. It's been a wonderful journey and and so rich in terms of culture.
Wow, the knowing of our roots is very important, and being an Australian, I think it's now more than ever that we really need to understand and have that knowledge of our roots. So yeah, great prompter and reminder. So yes. Tell us about your call to adventure to joining QUT, the Queensland University of Technology.
When I was a student, I went to England as a visiting student. And the truth is, I stayed there as a lecturer in finance at the School of Business at the University of Leicester. And I was very involved with the students. I was helping them. My door was always open to them. And I remember there was this Indian girl that she had some really tough challenges in her life. And just being able to listen to her meant the world to her. And in one day, I received an email from Australia saying that, look, I read your work. I really liked it. I think it will be a great compliment to our work that we do here. Do you want to come down here or not? And it's a really big decision going from England to Australia. It's two different parts of the world. And this girl knocked on my door right after I received that email. And she came to me with a bottle of wine. Those bottles of wine that they sell here in Australia with a kangaroo on it. And when I saw that, I saw it like as a message to pack and leave. So when I saw the bottle of wine with the kangaroo there, where she was giving me as a sign of appreciation for the help that I have given her, I just told her, can you give me 5 minutes so I can answer an email? And I said yes. And so I came here to Australia with a violin and my 7-day bag. And yeah, it's been a wonderful journey since then.
And Catarina, your work is very diverse. It is unique and super interesting, but very complex. Can you share more about your work in its simplest form?
Well, I try to understand how systems make predictions. Either these systems are made of carbon, like people, or these systems are made of machine components, like computers. So in terms of decision theory, I try to understand how people, or I try to build mathematical models of how people make paradoxical decisions. So, because usually what we have in economics is these assumptions that we always make the best possible choice for the resources that we have. And humans do not work like that under scenarios of high levels of uncertainty. We have these fast decisions that are based on heuristics that lead to paradoxical decisions and deviates a lot from this rational point of view of decision making. So I used, during my PhD, I used quantum physics to try to elaborate on this, because again, if humans constantly violate the laws of probability theory with their irrational behavior, then we need to move towards more generalized probability theories. And I thought that quantum physics would be a fantastic example for that. In terms of machines, I want to try to understand how machines work so we can promote a more fair and transparent and more enhanced decision process to the human user. So unfortunately, there are biases everywhere in the way we collect data, in how we generate data itself. And when we try to make these machines learn from that data, they learn biases that can put societal groups at risk, for instance, minorities. It can also discriminate people by their gender in job applications. So if we can come up with ways to show the decision maker how these machines make decisions, maybe we can contribute to a more fair world in terms of opportunities.
And so what have been some of the biggest learnings that have taught you valuable lessons that you hold on to today?
That is a really interesting question. So, I've been doing a lot of community work, and one of the things that actually opened my eyes was once when I was in Ronald McDonald's house. So Ronald McDonald's house is a house that takes children and families who are very far away of hospitals, and they takes them in. They provide accommodation so they can go to hospitals and treat their children. And I remember one day I was doing volunteering in Portugal, and there was this child. He had 2 years old, and he had all these automated toys, fantastic toys. You can play with it in robotics and things like that. And I remember that he came to me with the book in his hand. And all he wanted was for me to read him a story. He didn't want to engage in any of those cool toys that he had around him. He just wanted some human touch, some human understanding, some human companion. And this was a wake-up call to me of how isolated we are. Although we are in this technological world connected to everyone, we are actually more and more isolated in terms of these human values of compassion, of tolerance, of understanding. And this is what one child taught me that really shaped the way I act and I see the world.
Wow, what a beautiful story. So you recently won the Heart of Our Values Award with the Women in Technology Association, awarded by Sonia Bernhardt, who I recently had the opportunity to interview for this podcast. Can you share more about about this award and what it means to you?
Actually, this is very interesting because this award didn't exist in the previous competitions. It was an inaugural award that I was very honored to receive. And actually, I was applying for the Rising Star in Technology Award based on my work in artificial intelligence. And I got shortlisted, and I had the opportunity to have an interview with Sonia and other panel members where I spoke a lot about my work. But I thought that, well, everyone has my CV, so they already pretty much know my career. So I decided to speak about more of the community work that I do a lot. I remember that I was waking up in England at 5 a.m. to do 150 kilometers to go to London to clean parks so children can play in safety. Somehow all these stories that I was sharing with Sonia about how much I give to the community and how much it enriches me as a human being, somehow it touched her, and it made her create this award, which is after her name, Sonia Bernhardt, which again reinforces that we are here to work on our values, on our integrity. That career is not, it is important, but it is not the thing that gives true meaning to our human life, because it's this way of helping people, listening to them, listening to their stories, even sometimes just listening, and can help and make us grow and see the world in such a different way that you start to behave differently. And I guess this is, again, it was a complete surprise, this award. I was just shaking when they said my name. Because it was highly, no one was expecting, no one knew that this award existed. And yeah, I'm very honored for that.
So Sonia says that you embody the new wit, values of inspiring excellence to lift one another up to be stronger together, future focused, and recognizes that we are the change. How do you activate the idea that we are stronger together?
Through different ways. So I can say that one person that shaped me a lot was, when we are young and we have this energy and we just say, I want to come here and change the world. I told this to my philosophy teacher, and he told me one thing that I never forgot. He told me, if you want to change the world, you first change yourself. And after changing yourself, you start to do good. You have no idea how contagious that can be. And I kept his words on my mind, and I tried to use this notion of doing good, of inspiring the new generation based on these values. So when I grew up, it's a male-dominated society. I was to engineering. I was probably the only 4 or 5 women in my class. And I noticed that there weren't any roles that I can look at, any people that I could look and I can say, wow, I want to be just like her. So I decided to live my life doing good in such a way that if one day I would meet myself, I would be someone that would inspire myself to become bigger, to become the change that we need in this world. And again, alone, we can't do it alone, but it's a longer path. If you have the support and are in an environment that listens, that understands, that provides you the opportunities that you need to shine and excel, then this is what we need more in this world. We need inspiration. We need people that allow younger ones to dream, to show them that they can be more. than just a normal person. Because if we are born in this world, it's just to be exceptional, not to be like everyone else. We are here to live our own path and to excel on it, and to leave our feet in the sand that hasn't been explored. And yeah, this is my way of thinking. It's about having people nowadays that are able to inspire and reach the young generations, to make them dream, make them believe that they can dream and they can reach all their goals in their lives.
Wow. So you talk about the symbiotic relationship between humans and machines. How does this all work, and what can we learn?
Well, this is actually a very interesting question. So again, I'm a philosopher, so I'll go a little bit back in time. And the author of Homo Deus, also Yuval, also made some interesting reflections about this. So before, in the old ages, in the dark ages, the source of authority was the Bible. So, Lord, what should I do? Should I go left? Should I go right? And then we would go to the priest, which would be the representative of God. And he would say, okay, according to the Bible, should go right. Then we moved to an age where the human was more or less in the center. So if I feel like that I want to do my things, I'll do them and without asking no one for that. And then we started to move to a technological-based society where I stopped thinking. I just grab my phone and I say, Google, where should I go, left or right? And Google tells me. And if I do not trust Google, I'll probably end up in a traffic jam. And then I learn, oh, I should actually trust Google because last time it was right. Now, this is the thing. When we have machines as the source of authority that are making decisions for us, we are no longer the center. So this is what I want to try to bring back. I want the human to be the center and uses the machines as tools to enhance their performance, to help them enhance their decision power, to complement their knowledge in a specific context in a given time frame. And this is what I mean by symbiotic relationship, not something that machines are totally independent. Of course, there are tasks, autonomous tasks and repetitive tasks that can really be done very well by machines. But in terms of high stakes decision making, we should always collaborate to the machine to enhance our performance and to see them as tools and not as sources of authority, because otherwise we end up with, again, these biased decisions that can put societal groups at danger, or gender discrimination and other things.
And so how can Australian companies adopt AI to enhance their capabilities?
Well, again, AI is a very general term. It kind of depends on specific problems that the companies are facing. Of course, AI is a fantastic complement to try to understand trends, to try to understand customer consumption patterns. So everything where there can be patterns and trends, and AI can help us a lot. But again, if AI continues to be a black box, it continues to gain a lot of resistance from Australian companies, and it's completely legitimate to have this resistance, because we don't know how these machines are computing data or bases. They are computing these behavioral patterns, for instance. So I think that nowadays we are going towards a new era of artificial intelligence, a new era where artificial intelligence is more transparent and where there is active research in making it more fair. So I think when these, at the moment, they are simply in the research domain at the moment, but when they start to become adopted by companies, I think it will make a big difference in the way they operate, in their processes, in the way they analyze these trends, in the way of having domain experts to actually try to correct the machine, and the machine learn from those corrections. So I think we are going towards some new interesting years in terms of AI development and how Australian companies will grow with it.
And so what are 3 new things that you've been focused on in your continuous learning?
Well, one of them is mathematics. I like a lot mathematics. I'm a computer scientist, although in my degree in Portugal, it was massively based on mathematics. And it's very good because mathematics is the language of nature. Everything speaks through the patterns or the functions of mathematical equations. And it's actually a very interesting reflection in a philosophical point of view, how we can see patterns like the golden ratio in several of our natural processes. So mathematics for me is something fundamental that I'm always very enthusiastic to know more about. The second one is philosophy. I think without philosophy, this, like you were saying, knowing our roots, being able to have this capacity of discernment. Because again, if we go to the root of the words, for instance, intelligence, we are speaking about artificial intelligence. Intelligence comes from the Latin word interlegere, which means to read in between, which is precisely this capacity of discernment. And we can only reach this capacity of discernment if we have this philosophical mentality of questioning. And this leads me to my third point, which is the critical thinking, which nowadays I think it is the most fundamental point in our society. To think, to be critical, to ask questions, to search for answers, or even if there aren't any trivial answers like in philosophy, just the process of meditating about them can really enrich us. That reflective process helps us also build ourselves in terms of who we are, what are our values, what we believe in, and also in terms of scientific advancements. It's the critical thinking that allows us to bring these breakthroughs in society and can enable us to change.
So finally, Catarina, in this podcast series, we've been connecting with Australian women changing the world through technology. How has technology further enabled the work that you do?
Well, technology is fantastic. It's fantastic because above all, it provides an opportunity to share. It provides an opportunity to allow people in any part of Earth to have accessibility to other people's developments, about other people's accomplishments. And I think that this is vital if we want to inspire and be inspired. I think technology can provide us a way to reach people that at the moment just have a dream, or at least they think they are not able to reach something. But if we show them stories, successful stories of people who managed to do something big, that can inspire them and that can promote big differences in this world. So again, sharing accessibility and again, this opportunity of inspiring and let yourself be inspired. I think these are the most beautiful things that technology can provide us nowadays.
Well, thank you so much, Catarina, for sharing your world and your wisdom with TradeSquare.
Thank you.
For more information on TradeSquare, head to www.tradesquare.com.au and support Australian business economic recovery and growth with a collaborative approach to the future of business.